you. Good afternoon again. Most of you, I think, were here yesterday. So I'm going to start today by telling you that I am by nature a dreamer and not a pragmatist. A few days ago when we were driving down here, my husband said, "How do you feel about the seminar?" And I said, "Oh, I think it's okay, but it lacks the poetry of the last one I did." And he said, "Well, that's because it's a completely different topic, Sharon." But I tell you that for three reasons, actually. One is mutual aid requires imagination. One of my favorite sort of philosophers, not so much someone who's known for mutual aid, although he did promote it, it was David Graeber, who has now passed, who talked a lot about how we've created the world and we can make the world differently. Now, we believe God created the world, but the way that we function together, the way we live together, the way we treat the planet, like we are doing that and we can do things differently. So keep your mind open imaginatively today. The second reason is I want you to know now, before we get into the nuts and bolts, that I am not a nuts and bolts person. So when it comes to like the gifts and skills that we have to bring to mutual aid, on the list of things I do not have would be like admin, organizing, logistics. And yet here I am trying to talk about some of those things. And finally, because I found a way to work some poetry in today, song lyrics are close enough. And there are only a couple people that I think this would apply to. If you were here from my utopian seminar, these questions are repeats. I am asking you to identify song lyrics from songs that have utopian themes. And again, there is a prize to be had. The man who took 2 yesterday is gone, so it's wide open today, folks. All right, first lyrics. Just raise your hand if you know what it's from. This is much easier to identify now than it was in 2019. We go to the doctor, we go to the mountains. We look to the children, we drink from the fountains. No one yet? I am ashamed of you. Okay, we go to the Bible, we go through the workout, we read up on revival, we stand up for the lookout. There's more than one answer to these questions, pointing me in a crooked line. I'm shocked. Did you all not see Barbie 4 times last summer like I did? That is from Closer to Fine by the Indigo Girls and was heavily featured in the Barbie movie. Like they had a major resurgence of that song being a hit because of the Barbie movie. Okay, well, I'm sorry. Sorry that you didn't know your Indigo Girls. You get another try. I don't know how diverse your musical tastes are. If nobody gets the answers, then the snacks are just up for grabs. One day this all will change. Treat people the same. Stop with the violence. Down with the hate. One day we'll all be free and proud to be under the same sun, singing songs of freedom. Anyone? Anyone? These are harder than the history questions, I'm sure. This is One Day by Matisyahu. Anyone know Matisyahu? Yeah. It's a good song. It's a good song. Some of the things about Matisyahu personally I'm not promoting, but all right, you're gonna get this one. You are. Somebody is. Oh, I've been smiling lately, dreaming about the world as one, and I believe it could be. Someday it's going to come. Right on the... Okay. What? That Peace Train? Yeah, that's Peace Train by Cat Stevens, Yusuf Stevens. All right, yay, finally. You're gonna get this one too. This is the easiest one I have. Who said that every wish would be heard and answered when wished on a morning star? Somebody thought of that. Yes, the Rainbow Connection. There you go. That's a great utopian song.
All right, mutual aid, I'll give out the rest of them, and then you
go for it.
Share it with each other.
Well, at least you got to hear some poetry. All right, so yesterday I told you how my starting to think about mutual aid, even though I wasn't yet using the term mutual aid, how that started at AudioFeed. The next chapter started with COVID. Because COVID showed us, I think all, how weak the systems that we depend on are, how quickly things can fall apart. You know, very, very quickly people were unemployed, or you've got essential workers whose kids were now at home all day, and the healthcare system was overwhelmed. You've got hospitals that are saying, you know, if you're not dying, basically stay home because we can't handle the load. And mutual aid networks started springing up all over the country. A lot of them with the name mutual aid. Some of them didn't use the name, but the principle was the same. Locally, I was helping to hand out lunches by early April, whenever they shut the schools down near us. One of the organizations that I volunteer with started handing out lunches. Well, we didn't have enough masks because nobody had enough masks, so we had local people who were sewing masks. Set aside all the questions of efficacy, that was happening all across the country, that people could sew, were sewing masks, they were making PPE. There were mutual aid networks springing up, especially in urban centers where younger, healthier people would deliver groceries to older people or immunocompromised people. Child care co-ops so that essential workers would have someone to watch their children. And this, as I began to kind of encounter some of these things in the news, I intentionally started to learn everything I could about mutual aid. Now, before I leave today, I want to make sure that you know you can find me on Facebook. The people who are already my Facebook friends would say, oh boy, can you find her on Facebook? I'm an external processor, so I'm posting all the time. But I'm telling you because earlier today I posted on my wall, which is public, a link to a Google file that I created that is just resources about mutual aid, podcast episodes, articles, books. So if you want to learn more after you leave here, find me on Facebook and you can find that link and do some more educating yourself. I particularly leaned on the work of Dean Spade, and I brought his book and then left it in my bag over there. He is a lawyer, trans activist, anarchist, and mutual aid organizer, and kind of the most high-profile teacher on mutual aid. He has a website called deanspade.net, and if you go there, he has a lot of videos and articles, teaching pieces on what mutual aid is and how it operates. And so before I get into our personal experience, I want to try to build a little on the distinction between charity and mutual aid, or traditional nonprofit work and mutual aid. He has quite a long list of differences. I've pulled just a handful of the ones that I think are most critical for us to understand. One is that the work is not professionalized. A lot of charity work and a lot of nonprofit work depends on social workers and counselors and people with their degrees in public health, or it's people who are professional in the area that is you're trying to serve. Mutual aid does not rely on professionals. It relies on, now that doesn't mean there aren't professionals involved, but they're not there because they're professionals. They're there because they just want to be part of the work. You're not relying on professionals to build the work. There is an underlying commitment to racial justice, gender justice, disability justice, a recognition that the capitalist system that we live under is harmful to many people. And it's, it's built on profit and getting bigger. And those things have harmed both people and the environment, and mutual aid is kind of recognizes that right out of the gate. Another way that it's very different than many of the organizations that we have been in, and this is one that I we've really been trying to work out in practice is that it's very open and non-hierarchical. So we have monthly meetings that are open to anyone, and we make decisions by consensus. We don't vote. Generally, we just talk about things, and then if it seems like the group is like fine with it, that becomes the decision. There's an actual pattern, like a formal pattern you can use where people can, I didn't write the terms down, block or stand aside or agree to a decision. But if you have someone in the group that blocks, that doesn't mean that you go ahead with it because everybody else said yes. It means you like stop and you listen to their objections and you keep going until they have either reached a point where they say, I may not be 100% comfortable with it, but I'm okay with the group doing it, or they've come to agreement, or you don't do it. Like, you don't bulldoze anyone's opinion. Now, pragmatically, Dean Spade says, if you have someone who's blocking a lot, they may be in the wrong group, or maybe they don't share the group's vision. So that's probably a conversation to be had. You don't kick them out, but you're trying to encourage a consensual kind of decision-making process. You abandon the idea of deserving and undeserving people. There are no deserving poor and undeserving poor. You don't set obstacles in the way of people receiving help. So a practical example of this is I have a friend who runs an overnight, or used to run an overnight warming center. She's retired. So that unhoused people have a place to go in the winter when it's really cold outside. And the board, because this is an official nonprofit, the board technically says you can only come in if you're sober. As the director of that facility, she would never enforce it because she doesn't believe that people should be turned away from having a warm place to sleep just because they're drunk or high. On smaller levels, the moms that we serve through the baby supply, which I'll talk about later, they're used to being required when they seek help, to having to present income information or at least show ID. We don't care about any of that. We don't care about your immigration status. If you need help and we are able to provide the help, we're going to provide the help. And that's very much a mutual aid principle. Also, you listen to and value the self-determination and the experiences of the people that you serve. If there is a better way for you to help them, you need to listen to them. Because white saviorism, or in our case, certainly white saviorism, is a risk that you will feel like you know what's best for people whose experiences you are not going through. And you evaluate your success really based on how the people that you are trying to help, would they say you're successful? And finally, this is from Dean Spade's list, engaging with the work of mutual aid should build broader solidarity, mobilization, and empathy, and I would say radicalization. If you serve the poor, or you serve immigrants, or you serve people who have a lack of adequate health care, or whatever marginalized or harmed group, and you're serving them from a place of solidarity, it should radicalize you to the reasons that they are in that situation in the first place. And that has certainly been my experience over the last 2.5 years. So I educated myself as much as I could. I put out into the world, on Facebook, of course, we need a mutual aid in the Metro East. And I got resounding support in the comments. Yes, we do. It's mostly from my far left friends, because my friends who were on the far left didn't know what mutual aid was. And so then I was like, someone should definitely start that. And I kind of waited. And it's not that I was unwilling, but I thought, and I still think, a 50-something middle-class white woman is not the best person to start a mutual aid network if your goal is to serve and empower and support people from marginalized communities. I would rather have started by serving under some people of color or some people who have experienced more poverty than I have or more discrimination. But after waiting and talking about it a lot, I finally decided maybe I was going to have to help at least get it going. So I made a list of friends that I thought might share my vision and started asking them out for coffee. And a lot of them were like, that is a great idea. You should definitely do that. But my plate's pretty full. I heard that a lot. And then I finally got to my friend Sarah Bland, and she said, sounds great, let's do it. And that was really all I needed, was one other person who didn't think it was an overwhelming idea. And so we put the word out, and we scheduled a meeting in November of 2021 at our public library, and we had 10 people there. And we created, thank God for Google Docs. If you're ever going to do any kind of organizing work, Google as a company is terrible, but the Google Docs are great. We created a Google Doc for people to join the network, and Reardon, I think, was asking me about this yesterday, how we kind of figure out who has the skills to meet need. Well, part of what the Google Doc asks is, what are your skills? What are your gifts? What are your talents? Just as I asked you yesterday. And so we started getting people to fill that out. And then we put the word out on Facebook, like, we're here if you've got a need. The first need actually was easy to find, but very atypical for what we have done, because it was entirely a financial need, and it was very big because we had friends in Granite City, where I serve, who they had a ceiling collapse inside the house, and there was exposed asbestos, and one of them was already in very poor health, and they were trying to figure out how they could get the asbestos removed from their home safely, which is not something that amateurs can do. So we fundraised the money necessary to hire a company that was licensed and certified to come in and do that. But that, again, that's very atypical, because mostly, and we even put this in our actually I think it's still on our Facebook page in the info, we're not really about raising large amounts of money. We need money for some things, but we don't want anyone to feel like they don't have a place in the mutual aid network if they can't donate money. And we realize that a lot of charity work and nonprofit work, that's what drives it. It's who can donate money. They get to call the shots, they get to decide who receives, and we didn't want to recreate that environment. So, hold on, I gotta flip to the right page here. Here are what we put down as our 10 values. We're Metro East Mutual Aid. Someone asked yesterday, like, where we are at. We are just across the river from St. Louis. So the people that we serve, most of them come from Madison County. Some come from St. Clair County. A few come across the river from St. Louis. But that's the general area that we serve. And demographically, economically, that is a very wide-ranging area, but the city where my church is at, Granite City, is pretty low income, and there are some other communities around us, including East St. Louis, that have significant need. So these are the values that we have for Metro East Mutual Aid. These are our core commitments to solidarity, not charity, to mutual care and mutual accountability, relationships built on trust. Mutual aid, I think, again, charity allows you to donate $5 online and feel like you have contributed something, and you have. I mean, again, I work part-time for an animal shelter, and we've done $5 Fridays, and you can get a lot of money raised that way. But mutual aid needs people who trust each other, and so you have to build relationships, which is why we meet every month like clockwork. Even when we don't have a whole ton of a lot of things to talk about, we meet and we have brunch together. That was value number 3. Number 4, communal support, not transactional. Even though I talked yesterday about cooperative economies where people invested a certain amount of labor in exchange for goods, and I think that that was a really beautiful adaptation to what they were living through during the Great Depression, our mutual aid is not transactional. We hope that people will reach a place where they want to participate if they have learned about us through receiving services, but we don't demand that. It's not like, well, we did this for you, now you do this for us. We believe in sharing resources rather than hoarding, which was a problem during COVID. We believe everyone has gifts to offer in community and everyone has needs that can be met in community. Everyone deserves to have their needs met. We believe in collaboration, even in times of conflict, horizontal decision-making, and investment in people, not systems. And now, I'd like to read you a list of things we've done, which I have to keep a list. And this is not an exhaustive list. This is a list I created for a reporter who interviewed me, and then I sent him stuff, and he just posted every single thing I'd sent him in the newspaper. I thought it made for pretty boring journalism, really. But I have to read these lists once in a while because I'll start to think, oh, we're not doing anything. We're not accomplishing anything. But we have over time. So we started with that asbestos removal, and in the same household, there had been a hoarding situation. So we got some folks together to help clean up the house at that family's request. We have done yard work to help folks with avoid further municipal fines. Someone yesterday asked about cooperating with the authorities. Here's the way we actually tried. We went to the city officials in Granite City, Illinois, and we said, listen, we're a mutual aid. We have lots of people who say they can do yard work. We know that you have a list of people that you are currently fining because they are in violation of the municipal rules for how you have to keep your yard. And we know that a lot of those people are elderly, or they're ill, or they're single parents who don't have time, or they don't have a lawnmower. We would be happy to help clean up some of those yards, and totally got the brush off. My suspicion is that either they're just not motivated to help those people at all, or that it is a way to generate income for the city. A small scale disaster capitalism, But we tried, and we may try that again. We have provided gas cards and clothing, like children's clothing at families' request. We've delivered fans and air conditioners to families without adequate cooling. We have donated toward legal fees and lots of utility expenses to keep people's power or water from being shut off. We donated and delivered drywall and helped a single mom who needed some home repairs done. We helped a single mom who had been injured at work, who was moving, but was on crutches. We helped her get moved. We have donated toward car repair. We've helped some women escaping domestic violence with resources and referrals, helped families after house fires. We did critical home repair. This was probably our biggest material job. We did critical home repair for a woman in a wheelchair she was in a double wide trailer where there were like huge holes in a couple of her floors inside her house, and also her wheelchair ramp was in really bad shape. And we got donated flooring through some friends, and we got folks over there who knew how to lay flooring, and my husband Kevin was one of the people who helped on that project and built her a new wheelchair ramp, and we're able to do all of that at no cost to her. We worked in partnership with Twigs, which is the nonprofit my co-pastor directs, to create resource closets for social workers at the Granite City Middle School and High School. So Twigs made the connection basically, and we donated toiletries and menstrual items and some clothing items, because the social workers in a district with a lot of low-income families, social workers spend a tremendous amount of money out of their own pockets trying to keep kids just with kind of those basic needs. We sourced a used bike and had it repaired at Mima's expense, and then also got a tent donated for a homeless couple. The bike and the tent were for the same couple. We've facilitated a lot of furniture and appliance and housewares, being like, this person needs something, hey, who's got it? Matching that up and then making sure things get delivered. Lots and lots of resource referrals. And then the final three I will list. One is sort of expertise. I was telling someone about this yesterday. So we had a family that was just coming out of homelessness, and they have a child who's disabled, who's of school age, and they felt like the school system was just really not assessing her needs properly. And so this mom is talking to me about homeschooling because she knew I used to be a homeschooler. And I didn't tell her she shouldn't, but I knew in their circumstances it would be really hard. And so I said, before you make a decision, let me put you in touch with someone who knows how to talk to the school system. And we have someone in network who's an early childhood therapist who's been helping write IEPs for decades and knows parental rights. And she spent like 2.5 hours on the phone with this mom, just equipping her to talk to the school system, which is like a small thing. But as I said yesterday, a lot of our social circles are made up of people just like us. So that family didn't know any child development therapists that they could call on. And the network was just able to connect them. We've done the same thing informally. We've had a lot of people whose landlords are threatening to kick them out because they're behind on this month's rent. And we have people in the network who are like, that is not how tenants' rights work, and explain to them what their rights are under the law in terms of how much time you have to be given. And so the expertise of people within the network is really valuable. We've also started, because I work at an animal rescue, we were able to start offering free microchipping and vaccine clinics in Granite City. And our biggest ongoing project is a baby supply. We partner with the St. Louis Diaper Bank, which provides diapers at 0.3 cents each. And if you've bought a pack of diapers lately, you know that is nothing. We just purchased extra because we were running low, and we were able to get another 5,000 diapers for $150. And we also partner, the same place, same group of volunteers does the St. Louis Period Supply Alliance, where you can get tampons and pads for a very low cost. So we partner with them for that too. And so every month it's been growing over time. And that started because one of the women in the network said, in these local moms groups, I see people asking all the time, does anyone have extra diapers? Does anyone have this kind of formula? Does anyone have a high chair that I could buy cheaply? You know, like people who are kind of struggling to get what they need. And so we started saying, hey, if your kids have outgrown something, we'll take it. And so initially we were delivering everything because we only had, 10 or 15 requests a month. Now we're up to about 130, 140 requests a month. So we don't deliver much anymore. Although if a parent says to me, we don't have a car, we don't have anyone else who can pick up for us, we still try to make that happen. Anna back there has donated baby clothes to us. what's been wonderful is that's one of the easiest ways for people to start to develop the idea of like mutuality, because we have moms who've been coming for a year and a half, and it's just standard practice for them now. When they come to pick up items, they'll have a little bag of donations to drop off. And moms also volunteer, moms who've been coming for a while volunteer in the baby supply. And that is not even an exhaustive list of what you could do through a mutual aid network by any stretch. It's just what we have been able to do up to this point. Now I want to talk for a minute about snags and pitfalls. And is that my 30-minute warning or my 45?
You are.
Okay.
15 minutes.
Okay.
But I was going to say, one of the things that you're able to do, you have a lot of Spanish individuals coming in. So one of the moms volunteers participate and help trace them.
Yes, that's true. We now have, we send out a separate Spanish, because we do a Google Doc for that too, the baby supply requests. We have a Spanish language one, and we have probably 40 moms who come per month now who speak Spanish. And we have a social worker who's a native Spanish speaker and one of the moms. And between the two of them, we usually have it covered on the days that we'll need translation work done. Because I've been doing Duolingo for like 2 years, and I still can't carry on a conversation. I can say a lot of single words, but those folks are from all over, Guatemala and El Salvador and Honduras and Mexico. And there was one day when there were a group of them chatting in the hall, and then a couple of the volunteers were passing by, and we came back by and they were all huddled together praying for each other. And which is a beautiful kind of mutual aid too, that we had nothing to do except that they were in the same space at the same time. Okay, snags, pitfalls, things we're learning. One of them is just people's kind of cynicism and old ideas about people who need help. Both the unwillingness to ask for help, which I think Reardon mentioned yesterday. It's hard to ask for help. And the sense that there's something wrong with you if you need it. I can't remember the context, but someone had requested something. It was probably like a car seat for a girl, and we had boy colors. And there are some parents who feel very strongly about that. And one of our church friends, I was chatting with them, and he said, well, beggars can't be choosers. And I was like, oh, no, we never use that kind of terminology here. These people are not beggars. They're all like our friends and our partners, and also, as far as we're able, they do get to be choosers. Unless we don't have it, they get to choose which car seat they like best that we have. My co-pastor is a big advocate of lavish hospitality, that when you serve people, it shouldn't be the bare minimum. So even though I have trouble staying on top of this, like if I know somebody is about to give a baby, when I pack up their baby things, I try to put them in like a gift bag, or throw in something a little extra special that acknowledges, that we're, like something that's never been opened, that's brand new from the clothes that came straight from the store with the tag still on, just to make them feel a little extra special. So you have to watch out for the sort of cynicism, or, these people, they shouldn't expect more from us. We've had a little conflict between volunteers, not much. Some people are bossier than other people, and then some people are bossy and they end up working the same shift. And the bossy and the bossy don't go well together. But honestly, that's been pretty great. And in all the moms we've had come through the baby room, we've only had one mom that we really had trouble with. And I have to go back and talk to her again this month about being kind and respectful to the volunteers, because mutual accountability actually requires that the people that we are trying to assist should respect us as well. Different political, philosophical differences, they definitely exist within our network. They've been surprisingly, so far, unstressful. We've got like a couple that he's retired military. We've got a few folks that I know are pretty conservative, but as long as they have a place where they feel like they can serve and it fits their values, we're not going to fight with them about the other things. Logistical challenges. Technology has not always been our friend. We are 2.5 years in, and I cannot believe we still don't have a way to give online that isn't connected to my phone number, which is how we were doing it early on. And honestly, if we don't get it sorted out, it's going to be how we continue to do it. But this stresses my husband out from a tax vulnerability perspective. But all of those online giving platforms make it hard.
They make it hard if you don't go through the process of getting 501c3 and associating yourself as the director.
Right.
Financial.
Yeah. They also are operating on the usual standards for charities and nonprofits. Google Voice is not as useful as you might think. We got a Google Voice number because last summer I went on vacation and it was the first time I'd seen my siblings in like 12 years. And it was just almost a disaster because I kept getting calls from moms and, one of them was like in a major crisis. She's weeping over the phone because she has no place to go with her baby. And I'm making all these calls back home, trying to get help for her while we're standing on Lake Erie, trying to look at a lighthouse or whatever. And my older sister, who's a therapist, said, you need to set some boundaries. Yes?
Some of the, I don't think they're too expensive, some of the commercial call forwarding utilities. I worked at a place in New York called Allreal, and you could, it was basically call forward, write a number and pick another number for it to forward to, so you could probably forward that to someone else while you're waiting.
That sounds wonderful.
Yeah, can you talk to Kevin about that? Because he's more logistics than I am.
I thought you could make Google Voice.
What?
I thought you could make Google Voice change the number it went to.
We haven't we can connect more than one person to it. I just haven't figured out how to get it to stop contacting the other people. But I digress. I don't want to spend too much time on that. I'm just saying that's like the stress of that as the organization has grown has been significant and contributed to some burnout in me at some points. Especially because I'm really trying not to be, I'm not the director. I'm not. And we have other people, we have a team that figures out how best to use what money we have on hand. I'm not on that team. I don't have any voice in that on purpose. But having other ways to share communication would help to make me not the person people think of as the director. Eventually, there will be a potential for community resistance anytime that you serve marginalized communities. I guess I should say, depending on where you live. We had a man come into our church one Sunday morning. I thought he was just there to visit the church, and so of course I greeted him warmly. And then I found out he was just upset about all the poor people that keep hanging around our building. And that's not just because of me. We have NA and AA groups that meet there almost every day. We give away food. And so he was concerned about his property values and just wanted to rant at us for a while. And I just nodded and smiled until he had finished his piece. But there is a strong current of business leaders and elected officials in our town that would really like to just roust all of the unhoused people out, provide no place to serve them. I mean, they're pretty open about believing that any service you provide is just making the problem worse. So that's part of the reason that we need to build solidarity so that when that happens, we don't just automatically side with the respectable people, against those that need our assistance. As far as rewards, of course, the relationships we've built, critical needs have been met, empathy and awareness have been grown. For me personally, this was also kind of an act of joyful resistance. Joy is an act of resistance. I think we live in sort of distressing times in a variety of ways. It doesn't matter where you are on the political spectrum. I don't know many people that feel good about where we are politically, economically, environmentally. There are a lot of reasons to worry. Mutual aid is a way to build hope, even if things are going to fall apart, which is why I titled the seminar what I did. I'm not really an optimist about the future of the world, but I'm a very hopeful person about what people can do for each other in the time that we are given here. Finally, before I ask if there are any questions, I just want to challenge you to think about what you have to offer, what gifts and talents and resources you have, and how you can share them. When I filled my MIMA network form out, I wrote down writing and animal care and funeral care and advocacy and networking. I think those were the 5 things that I said I could do. And I've offered funeral care for free to people who couldn't afford funeral services through a funeral home, or at least not all of it. So really, any kind of niche gift that you have, somebody can probably use it somehow at some time if you're willing to share it. If you wonder if there's a network near you, I'm sure it's not a complete list, but there's a site called Mutual Aid Hub, which is listed on that Google Doc that's on my Facebook page, but you can also just Google Mutual Aid Hub. If there isn't one near you, you might be able to find something that's sort of mutual aid-like. It may not be called a mutual aid, but maybe there's a group that's serving a community that you feel like you would like to assist. Like St. Louis has a mutual aid, but it also has what they call Squish, which is the St. Louis, I'm not going to get it right, Queer Help and Support Hotline, which specifically is kind of a mutual aid network for gay and trans folks that some of my friends have volunteered with, and they run a little pantry and have mental health support. Or you can start a mutual aid, and it can be as tiny as you want it to be. I recently heard a really good example of a way, it doesn't even require building a network. It's just getting to know your neighbors. A woman, she wrote a book called How We Show Up, talked about going around to her neighbors and saying, hey, I live at such and such. I think we should have a Google Doc for emergency contacts, and so we would know each other's names. And if you'd like to participate, you can, and of course you don't have to. And she said one of the fruits of that labor is that when she starts a recipe and then she discovers that she's a cup of milk short, she can always find some neighbor, she's got their numbers, she can ask for a cup of milk. But on a grander scale, she had a neighbor with a young adult son who was disabled, and his house caught fire. Their house caught fire while his parents were away. And he knew he could come to her house. He knew her name. He knew her number. He was too freaked out to do anything else, but he came to her house, and she was able to call 911, call his mom, make sure his mom knew everything was fine. And the reason was because they made a point of getting to know everyone in the neighborhood. Even that is more, and I'm terrible at getting to know my neighbors, lest anyone, I'm much better at getting to know strangers and the people that live next door. But even if you could start there, just like the people on your street or your block, get to know them, let them know that if they need something that you can help with, that you are available to them. Let them know, this is what I do for a living, so if you ever need help with your computer and I can help you, I'd be happy to try. Or I love doing handy projects around the house. So if there's something I can ever help you with, or a tool you need to borrow, don't be afraid to ask. You can start there and build up and outward. MIMA's not a Christian organization. I know I'm almost out of time. But my faith drives what I do. And Ryan, right? And I were talking yesterday about our conviction that the church is changing, and the things that made you a quote unquote successful pastor are not at all what the world needs right now. I love the church. I love to preach. I think, scriptural learning together is important, but the gospel needs to be lived outside the church, especially now, because so few people are coming into it to hear it. So I'm going to close with a liturgy that I meant to read yesterday, and I didn't. I told you the story of the young lords occupying a church in Chicago so that they could provide meals for children and community health care. This is a liturgy from the Young Lords, 1969. God is not dead. God is bread. The bread is rising. Bread means revolution. Organize for a new world. Make the church a people's church. Wash off your brother's blood. The street belongs to the people, and the church belongs to the streets. In the midst of occupied territory, the liberated zone is here.